Hi there, I'm Nu-Trix, and today we're looking into impOSCAR 3 from Gforce Software. It's a recreation of the Oscar British Vintage Synthesizer version 3. So what's new about it? Mostly it has a wavetable synthesizer in it. You can edit, there's an editor for it. You can draw the frequency and there's time. Actually, it's pretty cool for what it is. And it's still inside the impOSCAR structure. So you can still use all of the impOSCAR synthesis engine and just change the wavetable instead of the sawtooth or the pulse. It just gives you more palette to your sound and a lot of control of it. So it's really interesting on stuff that just grows over time. 1,800 presets, and there's about 250 plus new presets. So I'm not going to play all of them, but at the end of the video, we will play some of the presets. We'll listen to them so you'll hear what it sounds like. There's 150 wavetable presets. Of course, you can draw your own, but there's presets you can use. And the browser has been updated. There's a new LFO editor, so you can draw your own LFOs. Pretty cool also. 4 macros you can program to control whatever you want. Let's just dive in. I did use some of the presets in a song that I already had just to see how it would react. Even the kick and the snare are using impOSCAR. I'm going to take this one. Okay. So basically, let's put it at full screen. You can take the UI and just blow it up. You see the whole thing. I always found that the Oscar, the original synthesizer, was really eye-catching. Just looking at it, you just go, okay, it's an Oscar, it's yellow, and has these weird section here. Of course, this is a virtual recreation with more control than the original, so sometimes it might look, I feel like I don't know where to look at. Where are these sections? You have this first section here, oscillator 1 and 2, and oscillator 1 doesn't have these two parts, so this little line is oscillator 1, you've got the waveform, the pulse width or the wavetable position, and how much LFO modulation you're sending to that. Oscillator 2, same logic, but there's an octave shift. So compared to the first one, is it an octave higher, lower, -2? So you can go through all of this to change that. Get a detune, you can detune the second one. So let's actually take an initialized sound so we know what we're talking about. Init patch. Get that little sound here coming up. Pulse width and the wavetable position. It only affects 3 oscillator. The waveform, that is a pulse width, the pulse, and the wavetable. All the other ones do not respond to this one here. And then when you move this, the modulation is for the wavetable modulation. That's what it is for. And then you select which side is going to be affecting this. And when you bring this one after the oscillators, you have the Arpeggiator. You can turn it on. So the speed. difference. You get the arpeggiator playing the notes. You can also add a section that is going to go up or down the keys like an octave switch. If you turn these off, it's not going to do anything. So this is going to be, and play is only in the order in which you play the keys. Little pitch, just going to follow the pitch, not the order of the notes. And you click here, it doesn't do anything until you add this, and you say, well, I want this. So it's going to do up and down up here, but it's going to up and down the octave switch, so, which is actually a cool combination of the two things. So this is, again, this is a different thing we don't see often. One thing is cool, you can lock it and you can change everything else, and this is going to stay. So you're going to have still that arpeggiator playing with different value. And even if I change the sound, this thing's going to stay. So I'm still going to use that same arpeggiator that I like. Modulation. We have modulation wheel, what it's controlling. Gliding, do we have it? Semitone, that's the pitch band, up and down. Chords, you can play chords with a key. You got mix, so you want a mix of oscillator 1 and 2 here. Which one you want to listen? You want to hear the oscillator or the noise. Or a mix of the 2 and 1. You got a pink noise or white noise. You get ring modulation, half or full ring. We got an aux mod. This is an auxiliary modulation for the pitch, basically, or it can be, there's different options. So the pitch, the pulse width, the filter sweep, the filter and the oscillator mix and the noise mix. And the source of modulation can be envelope, 1 or 2, an LFO, sum or the multiply of the 2 LFOs, and the LFO blend. So it's 1 or 2. So this is, again, a lot of modulation possible with this, which is kind of weird the way it works, but it makes it different because of that. Then we have pitch mod, very normally pitch mod, like if we want to do a vibrato, we would have to go to pitch. So it could easily, so it's going to be the rate of the LFO2, selecting the LFO2 blend, sending some, just so in this case, the LFO2, send a little amount to the oscillator 2 pitch. Okay, very quick to do. LFO 1 and 2, basically same logic. There's rate. There's intro, so how much time is it going to take before it actually plays. There's different ways to sync it. You want to sync to every time you press a key, it re-triggers. You want to be free running. You want to lock it to the keys. You get sync to MIDI and envelope rate clock. So the envelope rate will be here with the gate time and the envelope rate. So it's going to be linked to that if you want to. But what's interesting now is you have a bunch of option of LFOs, and one is the user LFO, where you can just open up and go click on the LFO edit, and you can just basically draw the LFO that you want. But even more complex than drawing the LFO you want, there's an option of going between LFO state 1 to the last state. So you can actually have a movement of the LFO can become something else as it modulates something else. Okay, that's really complex. And in this window, you see all the LFO 1 and 2. You can go in and modify these two right away. There's the option of picking up shapes of LFOs. They basically looked at it like they would be evolution on a table. So for them, it's like a wavetable again, but of LFOs. And then right away, it opens up the door to, okay, if I go click LFO 1, oscillator 1 or 2, these two here, if I close this up, I'm just going to close this and go here. This one here is a wavetable. If I click, let's say I'm going to listen to 1. I'm going to open the filter. Go Wavetable. I have this. So this is my wavetable that I hear. If I want to draw in the harmonics, you can do almost FM stuff. You can do very precise. And you can also draw it here. When this up, this down. So you can inverse it if you want. And that's going to be your first one. Say, well, at step number 64, I would like to have, can I change it? No, I cannot change it that step. Plus, yes, I can draw it. And I'm going to here. And I'm going to add another one. And this one's going to be it's going to be different. And the last one is going to be a triangular shape. And then I can actually move between these with the position. And you can have modulation. Can I move this? Yes. Let's actually take a triangular. It just goes one side to the other. And you can morph between them. Crossfade or spectral morphing. You can go in and erase stuff. Is it here? Is it here? I think that the erase is for this. You can erase it. So that's it. You can draw. Or you can say, no, I don't want to move it. I want to. That's who I am. And again, remember that you have options here. You can just load in. Oh, I'm going to want. The rest of it, I mean, you go through the filter. You've got options here of the filter, what you expect. You get a cue, the frequency for it, the keyboard tracking. There's a drive before you get into the filter, so you got more oomph into your sound. You get envelope amount to modify the cutoff point. You have the selection of, want it to be envelope 1 or 2. If you want to use LFO, that's where it is. Selecting LFO 1 or 2 or the 2 combined, and then it sends to the frequency cutoff point here. Got envelope 1, which is usually volume, but you can decide to use it for frequency if you want, for the filter. And there's envelope 2 that has a delay before it. So that's why I'm saying it's more used for effect, because you have a delay before it. You have velocity where you want it to be controlled. You want it to control the drive if you want, or filter, the amount, expression pedal, what you want to affect by this, the panning. You want to pan, there's left to right, random, alternate, pseudo-random, and dynamic. There's different ways to spread the frequency, the sounds. Got single, multi, triggering, and you got repeat 1, and 2. So now that becomes interesting when you start to look into the envelope rate and the gate time. So this is a concept we don't see often on already patched synthesizers, something we see in modular synthesis. You basically have a gate that it open up and closing the envelope. So it's not an arpeggiator because it doesn't go around all playing all the keys, but it just opens up. And if I change the release, it will affect it. Kind of a tremolo that is active as you play it. We top this off with effects. We got chorus, delay, you got reverb. So you got a lot of controls here. Depth, you have different options here of type of. So you got the macros are doing different things. This one has more chorus, this one has more delay, and some reverb. This one opens up, it changes between oscillator 1 and 2. This one opens up the filter or closes it. Works with aftertouch. This one now has Wavetable, and the Wavetable is very complex. It's easy to do complex sounds with it. It's not complex by itself, but it adds new tones, new complexity, and a lot of flexibility into the sound. If you like the OSCAR, you'll love this version because it's OSCAR++. Plus is the third one. That's it. Stay safe, make more music, and see you soon. Cheers.